Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready here.
He's taken another one and another, and Howard Foster has stopped it. Wow, that is going to be controversial.
That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish it. It must finish it.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab, eats a right hand, another right hand, and he goes down. Oh my goodness!
The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend. He is the champion of the world.
Yes, we're back again. It's Raps on TV, talking the best thing in boxing. This weekend, I think it's good to say that it wasn't the most busiest, but we had some good, entertaining fights. Man like Usyk showing us how he's done to get himself into the final of the World Boxing Super Series tournament. But it's safe to say the boxing is back. We've got some big news, a lot of press in fact, UK press conferences, one big one today, some more on Thursday. But yeah, definitely all full steams ahead. So just want to say to everybody, all listeners, thank you again. All the callers, thank you. Guys, remember to subscribe to that YouTube channel. YouTube will change the law, so in order for us to make money, we're going to need some more subscribers. So sign up. We're going to need that on iTunes as well. And for all you guys that want to call in, don't forget the number is 01506 243 403. I'll repeat, 01506 243 403. So on the agenda for this week, of course, we're going to be talking about that British beef. Guys putting adverts in local newspapers and selling burgers on the streets. Chamberlain versus Okolie, two young British hungry fighters, undefeated, going head-to-head down at the O2 this weekend. Looking forward to that. Clearly, we're going to talk about Usyk that beating Breedis in the cruiserweight semi-final. Obviously, we've got Gassier versus Dorticus that is coming up this weekend over in Russia. And the big news that came out yesterday, Canelo versus Triple G2. The rematch is back. But nonetheless, I'm here with my co-host, Tom K. Tom, what's up? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Good to be back. Slightly weary, working away, but, good to talk about boxing, and it's all bubbling again, so...
That's it.
Get back into the rhythm for 2018.
We're all happy dogs right now, right? Big schedule.
Yeah, so we even had some other news, well, quite a bit of other news, with Ahara Davis signing with Frank Warren, and we've just seen the PBC schedule come out, which has got some great fights for the first half of 2018. We saw Amir Khan today lose his rag, a few personal issues being dug up.
With that, yeah.
I mean, whether it's genuine or not, who knows?
Yeah,
but it was exciting to watch.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. It was definitely funny.
And then we even had the laughable claims of Deontay Wilder, your best friend.
My best friend.
I'm surprised you ain't got the T-shirt on today, but he's claiming he'll knock out a prime Tyson.
I mean, for me, I read that and I thought, he's definitely smoking. He's smoking on some of that MJ before camp starts.
No, that was just for his friend, man.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think that's a good place. So, also, just guys let you know, we should have Isaac Chamberlain coming in on the show at some point. So once we see his number flash up, we will, of course, patch him in. I think let's start with Usyk versus Breedis, actually, because that was really the biggest boxing event happening last week in terms of over in Europe, a lot of people talking about it. Usyk seems to be a guy that a lot of people are following. He's building a big name. So, what were your thoughts on the fight? Obviously, Usyk won, points decision. What were your thoughts on the fight?
Well, before we dissect the fight, I just want to... Every time I've watched the World Boxing Super Series fights, I do think the production's amazing.
It's getting better.
Yeah, and when you're sitting there watching, the introduction with them being raised on those sort of platforms, the national anthems, the lights, the amazing lights, you just think, this is a higher quality.
Like a theatre.
Yeah,
it's a theatre production.
I remember Callis Allen saying he wanted it to be like the Champions League of boxing, and it is. It has that feel to it, and I think it's brilliant. I think, it's rare with these matchroom shows and stuff, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of beef before them, but you feel glamorous, you feel like, oh my God, here we go, this is it.
And what I will say is, for both the divisions that they've selected, I think they've probably been very smart, because if you look at the cruiserweight, in Europe, we know we've had a long line of cruiserweight champions, guys we recognise in that division. The US, maybe not so, but what I feel this competition has done, it's made it really competitive and entertaining, because if you actually look at the semi-final, everybody had a belt, has got a belt. One way or another. So what it means is by the end of this process, there will be one unified champion. Now, some people might say, yeah, it's been fast-tracked, but actually, I think it's, especially after your last few weekends fight, I think it's fair to say the best are fighting the best. You know, two guys, undefeated records, they've got a belt. We're seeing the same with Gassier versus Dorticus. So technically, I think it then becomes down to the styles of the individuals as well. And that's where I think, you know, they're putting on a good show. So I think, you know, I'll take my hat off to the World Boxing Super Series. I think they had some doubters at the start, but I think most people on the whole are impressed with what they've seen. I think the box office thing still needs to be debated, but, you know, that's boxing in this day and age, right?
Yeah, they definitely had the doubters, but I don't, you know, those doubters wouldn't have predicted a sort of, you know, a huge sellout crowd in Latvia screaming with a semi-final between a Ukrainian and a Latvian. You know, they wouldn't be going, oh God, yeah, we're going to be jealous, we're going to be worried about that prospect. And then, you know, they've come on a long way. I mean,
look, I think for them, they've started off well. I think, to be fair, it's only really going to get bigger and better because you think about the other divisions that they could approach in terms of fighters. One, just to make competitive fights, let alone bringing guys in with belts. And two, you've got to think, well, they're bound to get more sponsorship. They're bound to get more investment because the model's there. I think it's a cracking thing. So, again, we'll go on to the fight. What were your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was a cracking fight. I mean, it was actually one of the best fights I can remember watching in recent times. You sort of, and especially during those first, not in the sake that it was a compete, not in the like the it wasn't a sort of outright slugging match, but the way there was two, you know, highly skilled elite fighters,
focused,
and it wasn't like one was dominating the other. It was quite a topsy turvy fight. So you're always on the edge of your seat, like who's got the upper hand in this round, who's doing more. You know, for a while in those early rounds, it looked like Breedis.
I think he had those.
Those early rounds, didn't he? Yeah, and he was looking very competent in there. Usyk, you know, he had that sort of untouchable reputation coming in.
Yep.
And Breedis,
I won't say hype, but I will say I'm calling it hype.
Breedis was handling him quite effectively in those early rounds. He was getting on the inside of him, wasn't he? And he exposed a few weaknesses. I think so. You'd have to say.
And I think that's the thing. I'll definitely say I think we've got enough. We can't call it anything else but weaknesses. But I would say, you know, we're talking about two champions here that were putting everything on the line. And, you know, last week I think even we weren't in the studio, but I was saying for me, I don't think everyone should write him off as easily as people were. And for me, I just felt he had something about him. Yes, it was really the big right hand. And I have to say, for me, Usyk defended actually pretty well in terms of not letting himself get countered by that particular shot. He took some jabs to the face.
There were some times where he was getting caught early on.
And he was getting caught.
But early on at one point, he took a right hand, didn't he? Took a right hand counter and he shelled up. He did shell up. Yeah.
And I think that's when he started coming in with the high guard. But I think it's worth noting, you know, sometimes in boxing we forget, like, great fighters can get hit. You know, when he got hit and he didn't wobble. And I think there's a lot of other fighters, if you look at Breedis' record, that take those type of shots and they go down or they wobble and they kind of lose a fight. So I think Usyk showed some great attributes. I won't say necessarily it was massive flaws. I do think what it is, you know, the hype that was around him, that he's just some untouchable guy. I think it's shown that, no, he's not. I think if Gassiev gets through to the final, which I still don't think is a given, I think Gassiev could actually put up a good fight. I think you are looking a bit more of a brawler versus a boxer in terms of Usyk being a real technician. But I was impressed with that fight. I thought it was really entertaining.
Did you see Usyk as a clear winner? Because there's actually been a lot of debate over the scorecard.
Yes, I did, but not clear
and
winner
one
in
judge
terms
gave
of
it a draw.
Yeah, not clear in the sense of he was just points wide. Like I gave it to him my 2 rounds, and it was really the final 2 rounds.
No,
Up
I
until
agree.
that,
I agree. Yeah,
that
100%.
part, it was kind of like. I think if you watched it again, you could probably give some 10-10 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, it was so close in terms of their styles being imprinted.
I think Breedis definitely he dominated the first 4 rounds. I think he probably won all the first 4 rounds. But I think that Usyk had the stamina advantage. He was the more athletic, and he, if anything, increased his pace whilst Breedis slightly dropped off. And there was that period in the middle where Breedis, he started for a small second when he got that cut open. He looked like he was starting to feel sorry for himself, and he started to worry.
And he wasn't. His punch output really reduced.
Yeah.
So when you look at how he was fighting early in the fight, and he was kind of all on top of him, and he was countering really well. So Usyk would throw a shot, throw a jab, but he would counter, he would slip, and then throw a punch back. He wasn't able to do that in the later rounds. And then he had a bit of a surge, but you could see it just wasn't enough. It kind of, I know it's the wrong type of fight, but it was a little bit reminding me of the Canelo Golovkin, where Canelo his output just wasn't enough. He just wasn't outworking him, and he wasn't being as clever as him. So, but I think for me,
Usyk's work rate was better.
I mean, to be honest, you got to say really it was phenomenal, because he put his guard up high, and he actually just really most of the time kept chasing him down.
Yeah,
really.
I think Breedis must have been quite nervous, because it's obviously a big pressure going to a fight that you're expected to lose in your hometown. And I remember actually after the first round, because obviously he did well in the had a very good first round. I remember him walking back to corner, almost looking surprised, is
this it?
Yeah, there wasn't what was the fuss all about, because you could tell when he made that expression, it looked like he was nervous. He was worried coming into the fight, and then he settled in. But you can burn a lot of energy like that.
That's it. But I think for me, overall, I think Breedis should hold his head up very high. He was a very worthy champion. I don't think he got bullied. He wasn't dominated. If you look at Spence versus Peterson,
he had a big size disadvantage in there, and he still didn't get bullied.
And that's what I mean. Like the reach, his timing and distance was good. But I think when you're fighting somebody as technically sound as Usyk, and you've got the reach and as a disadvantage against you, you need to be an energetic fighter. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you can get up close, slip, bam, go to the body. And he was trying to do that, but the speed just wasn't coming fast enough, I felt.
And Usyk, he was very good at picking his punches, I felt.
Yeah.
So when Breedis did try and do that, he had a nice uppercut quite a few times when Breedis tried to come inside, as did Breedis. But he used that quite effectively Breedis wasn't really breaking down Usyk to the body, I didn't feel.
And not enough.
Definitely not enough.
So in terms of Usyk's bit, people saying he felt was exposed, I personally don't agree. Do you think it's overreaction, or you think it's a true statement?
I think that he definitely hasn't been exposed. I think it's shown that he's not, an unbelievable force who could just go up to heavyweight and take on anyone and be a 50-50 shot. Yeah. He is a Olympic gold medalist. He has, he's had just under half the fights of Breedis. Yeah. He's fought Glowacki.
Is he 15 or 11? I don't know.
Yes, less than 15 fights.
Less than 15,
he beat Glowacki in one of his early fights, who at the time was one of the top cruiserweights. Mm-hmm. He beat, who was it recently? The one before Breedis, who was Marco Huck in the quarterfinal. He's a bit past it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
he showed his. I think But I don't think he's the best fighter in the cruiserweight division, I think, regardless of whether he wins the tournament. I just think he's by far the most skilled fighter in the cruiserweight division. But it's hard to argue that.
I do think it's hard to say he's the best. I'm not even going to talk about Tony Berry, but it's hard to say he's the best if he doesn't win this tournament. Because I think this tournament is about showing who's the best, right?
It is, but I think
it's like you don't win the World Cup.
If they go and fight each other 10 times, if all these people fight each other 10 times, Usyk's going to win the most fights.
See, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but I think I'm also a big believer in when the lights are switched on. And I think if you're in the final of a tournament for your division, I know it's just one night, but if you lose, you can't go around calling yourself the best.
I agree. I just think,
but he's definitely a skilled fighter.
There's a reason why he's a massive favourite. Do you know what I mean? And Breedis is probably the number 2 in that tournament.
And that's why I think this Gassiev Dorticos fight is going to be really interesting, because obviously the winner out of that is going to be clearly the underdog. Yeah. But do they take that fight and show confidence, especially if it's Gassiev, because you would argue potentially he's got the stamina to keep the pressure on Usyk a bit more.
But the thing I would say, having seen the Gassiev-Lebedev fight, is Lebedev, who is old, been through a lot of wars. Lebedev was a very close fight. I remember watching that.
I didn't watch
that was not an easy win for Gassiev at all. He dropped Lebedev, which gave the illusion that he was winning all the rounds, but it was Lebedev who was catching him easily with quite a lot of punches. He was completely dogged in there, and he was still catching him quite easily. I think that Usyk could play with Gassiev. I haven't seen enough of Dorticos because he hasn't fought that many high-level opposition.
Especially considering the amount of time he's been around.
He's an unknown quantity.
He's a bit inactive. So, I mean, in terms of this tournament, I mean, I would say I do think it's revitalised the cruiserweight division. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think,
it's no shadow of a doubt.
Maybe not in America, but in Europe, it's one of the most glamorous divisions that are out there now. You've got all the top fighters all fighting for belts at these wonderful events. So it's right up there. I mean, apart from heavyweight, what division in Europe right now is more, and super middleweight potentially, which is in the Boxing Super Series anyway, what is more of a live division in Europe?
Not at all. And I mean, I think, for me, if you're a true boxing fan, because for us, I agree with you that in the US they don't want to pay attention to it. But I think for you, if you're a big fan, you've got to pay attention. You've got to. I think I do know you've been hearing things about the network. So I think there's been an issue with them getting this fight.
Yeah,
this
it's
fight's
all political,
televised.
but if you have more fights like the ones we've just seen, they're not going to be able to say no because that's what the people want to watch. I don't even think it's them saying no necessarily. I think they couldn't get the deal done in time for a network to televise. And then I understand when the proposal came through, it was linked to baseball. You just drink your water, mate. Don't worry, man. Sound effects. So yeah, literally, it was down to the television networks. And if you've got baseball, basketball, all the rest coming in, I think it was just something they couldn't commit to. But I think now the product has shown that, you know what, actually it's worthwhile. And if I was at the World Boxing Series, I would go and link up with PBC, because I think PBC, if you look at the train of fighters that they've got, I think they could easily flood some of their fighters into different divisions and be able to create more competition at the different weight classes. But it's sort of like didn't they do that with the Super Six, and obviously that was similar people involved, and then that there was a lot of problems, because I remember. There was so many political problems between people, governing bodies.
That was at the time with De La Hoya and the rest of them. But I don't think...
They seem to have done it in a way now where all the governing bodies are on their side. There's obviously a lot of money.
This is WBS you're talking about.
There's obviously a lot of money behind them, and they're working in a way that they are in control. I mean, people were saying, Chris Eubank's going to drop out. He's not, because, the money's there.
No. And that's why I think so. That's why I think BBC could put some of their fighters into this tournament, and then... It's a win-win for everybody, because I think the US markets take more of an interest. So, for example, you've got this cruiserweight. We interviewed Dejuan Blake. He's got this guy, Andre Tabiti. Could he potentially enter the next year's competition? Who knows? But for me, I think it's great. So, on the back of the performance, everyone was saying before, now we say, has Usyk been exposed? Obviously, we disagree, but, some people are saying that. A lot of the talk before was that he could go up to heavyweight. He wants to, he said himself, he wants to take on Anthony Joshua after he wins the Super Series and moves up to heavyweight. Do you think he stands a chance at heavyweight? Not really, because I think the reason why I'll say this, and it's half linked to a man called Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew obviously fought David Haye, said, I want to fight Deontay, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he said he would never fight Joshua, but he was kind of like, I can challenge these guys, Dillian White, so forth, maybe even Tyson Fury. Today, he's come out, and it's again through the attraction of the Super Series, he's come out and said he wants to fight the winner. He said he's still the lineal champion. Yeah. He wants to fight the man that has all the one belts in cruiserweight. He's determined to do that. Great. One of the reasons he said, he's like, look, I can't mess with these guys. They're too big. Yeah. They're too strong. And I don't care what anyone says about Usyk. He is technically sound, but when he gets in with those guys, they're going to be too strong. All they need to do is catch you once, essentially, and then potentially have you wobbled. You were talking about body shots, shots to the arm. I mean, could you imagine Usyk really trying to stop Joshua from just attacking him?
No, he'd have to take him into the late rounds, wouldn't he? It'd have to be a tactical game. I wouldn't go as far to say that Usyk wouldn't have a chance. I think Usyk's got a chance with any heavyweight. I think, if he fights one of the lesser heavyweights outside of the Wilder and the Joshua, I wouldn't say, he's the favourite, he's going to win, but he's got a chance in any of those fights.
But to me, Parker is a bit of a cruiserweight anyway.
He's more skilled than probably any of the heavyweights, so he's got that advantage. Fury,
but I agree with you.
He's a massive cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He was very thin at the weigh-in, so he will bulk up a bit. It's not like he's going to go into the ring at 200 pounds. He will be a bit bigger.
Yeah, he would be a bit. I don't know.
If he fight, listen, there's no doubt in my mind that Usyk, absolutely, he beats down on Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew's not the type.
The cruiserweight. Yeah.
So I don't think. I think even though Bellew's gone up, and even though he won against David Haye, he didn't look like he could really cause him much trouble.
And that's how I see Usyk.
I think Usyk's a lot more dangerous than Tony Bellew going up to heavyweight.
I get what you mean on that, and I would say yes at certain fighters. So if let's say a Dave Allen, for example.
Yeah. But even what, I'd go as far as someone like Hughie Fury, who doesn't have that much power. But he's technically gifted.
Technically, it'll be a good boxing fight.
I could see Usyk beating someone like Hughie Fury.
And I wouldn't disagree with you. I think it would be a points decision. If I'm being honest with you, I think is that what we want to watch at heavyweights? I think at heavyweights, with the middleweights.
Usyk was so exciting in that you couldn't watch that fight and not become a fan.
No, he wasn't. No, I agree.
So I think that he will make his fights won't be. Won't be very stale because he was loving having the fight. He was going in there.
He needs the opponent, though. I think he needs the opponent like a Breedis, maybe even like a Dillian White, somebody that is just going to keep kind of coming forward, and you got to punch them off.
Yeah, I like to see Dillian White, giving Usyk some talk. He's got a devil behind those eyes. He's not the man you want to mess with.
Yeah, I think he definitely looks like he can fight, and obviously we'll speak to Chamber, who's been working with him in the lead up to his fight. So listen, before we go into the Chamberlain one, actually, let's just quickly touch on this Wilder comment. So for those of you that may not know, Lennox Lewis put out a tweet probably Sunday, And in the tweet, he basically says, I just heard Deontay Wilder say he would destroy a young Mike Tyson. My thoughts are that it's easy to talk until you actually get in the ring. I like Wilder, but he's never been in there with someone that ferocious who truly wants to break his ribs with every punch. I don't see it. So first of all, I know everyone's going to say, because of your bomb squad. No, like I said, I'm 50-50, but I respect Deontay as a skilled fighter. But let me tell you now, Mike Tyson would have eaten any of the heavyweights in this current generation. I don't even care if you're talking about Tyson Fury. I don't care if you're talking about Joshua Parker, Deontay Wilder. Mike Tyson, especially the Mike Tyson we're talking about, he would have beaten him. I will say this though, for me, Tyson isn't how can I say, he was eye-catching, he was ferocious, but for me, he's not the best heavyweight of even his generation. For me, I've always put Holyfield over him, and I feel Holyfield beats him 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. And this whole thing about the prime Mike Tyson, I think even him as a man would have to say, listen, like Mayweather's been to prison, Hopkins been to prison, like few people, athletes have been to prison and come out and still performed at the highest. So like if he's not, it's nobody's fault but his own. But for me, Deontay Wilder, you must be crazy. The only good thing about this, and I do believe this, I think it's all a hype. I think all it does is who's talking about him? Lennox Lewis. Yeah. Who's going to start talking about him if he responds? Maybe Mike Tyson. What does that do? You can't argue that since the Stiverne Wilder fight and her saying raise your profile, he hasn't been increasing his profile.
You know, I think Deontay Wilder, his ego's swelling at a rate that his record can't match, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I like Deontay Wilder when he had that hungry ambition. You know, he's talking like a guy who's made it. You know, he's talking like a guy who's killing it. Yeah. And it's like, he hasn't had a fight where he's never had a close fight and a 50-50 style fight. Yeah. Joshua's not as much of an ego publicly as Wilder, and he's gone life and death with Vladimir Klitschko. Yeah. Like, what's Wilder? Wilder. It's all talk until he backs it up.
And that is true. And that's why it's a good thing, because there's only one thing you can do, right? You make those kind of statements. You've got to go out there and start performing like that. Yeah. Now, if he smokes Luis Ortiz in 1 round...
Which he probably will. Not in 1 round, but I think he will smoke Luis Ortiz.
I think, of course. Yeah. But I think, let's say he smokes him at 1 round, 2 rounds, a Tyson-type performance, then at some point we have to say, listen, I think when people talk about his CV, I think it's a weak argument purely because Povetkin and Ortiz first time around cheated and those fights got put off. So if he had those names on his CV, I'm not saying that he's the greatest, but I think you can't talk about his CV too much. So I think we've got to back that out. This statement is totally wild, like his name, but I think it's a good thing.
See what you did there?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good thing. I think I can't see how it's not a bad thing, because all it's going to be doing, like this, since he's released the statement, everyone's like, and Lennox Lewis released it, not Wilder. That's the other thing. Everyone's like, what the hell's going on? Who's he talking about? So you look on the Facebook page, people are just talking about him. Yeah. So I think it's good. It's creating a buzz for his name. It's not like a Amir Khan going into the jungle, but it's getting his name out there. You go on Twitter, it's getting his name free. So for me, I think it was a good thing. So just quickly, also going to touch on...
Should we get into the fight this weekend between Gassiev and Dorticos? The other half of the cruiserweight division.
What do you think?
I leaned, well, as I said, I don't know, I've only seen a couple of fights of Dorticos, but I do lean towards Gassiev purely because I think that he's a more experienced fighter at that top level. I think, the Dorticos performance against Kudryashov, I don't think you can take too much from that. Kudryashov isn't an elite level cruiserweight. He's got the reputation of being a huge banger, but he's not an elite. He didn't look like he had the skills to compete with Dorticos in there. And there's more technical fighters out there than the Dorticos. I think that I don't think that it's going to be the who can land first fight that some people are predicting. Actually, I think that Gassiev is more of a thudding Golovkin style thud puncher than an explosive one punch knockout artist. I think that Gassiev shows some great work to the body in that Lebedev fight, and I think it could be quite a cagey opening. They're both going to be wary of each other.
Yes,
they both don't know. I could see it going quite a long way, this fight. Late rounds.
I half expect it to be very cagey because Dorticos being a Cuban, even though he's orthodox, his style kind of, I expect him to be a bit slow and it to be a bit lethargic early rounds. I have to be honest, this fight, it wasn't something that was high on my agenda. Only recently I've been kind of looking into it. I think I'd always gone with Gassiev, probably off reputation and some of the highlights I've seen.
And
like you said,
it's in Russia as well, which is going to be an advantage.
Exactly. And also, Dorticos, there's not much of him out there for you to even find out. So that always worries me when guys like that.
For the a Russia versus Ukraine final in Jeddah. Yeah,
Saudi Arabia.
I'd like I like the prospect of that. I'll be supporting Gassiev. I want to see that. That's going to be that'll be a mental fight.
So for me, I'm going with Gassiev. I have to say, it's not much for me to report on that because Dorticos is a guy, he's done well to get into this tournament and he's done well to have a belt and he may surprise us, but I just don't know that much about him. And when I look at his CV, I'm just like, yeah, what is there to really expect? You look at some of his fights.
He's unproven. You think after having as many fights as he's had, you'd have thought his reputation would have started to take hold before now. And like I said, the Kudryashov loss, the Kudryashov knockout, not much to take from that. I think he goes in as the underdog. Yeah. So we're gonna quickly go to the line, guys on the line. We're coming out to you. 985. I think that's Daniel. How you doing, fella?
How are we doing? Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Not bad. How are you?
Good. Yeah, all good, mate. Just want to touch on we've got Canelo Golovkin back on, haven't we?
Yeah.
So,
big news.
Yeah, what's your prediction on that? Who wins?
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is a tricky one. It might be too early for me to give you a concrete. If I'm being totally honest, D, and I'm going to ask you who you think, but when the first one happened, I picked Canelo.
Really? You picked Canelo?
I picked Canelo, and then Golovkin. I picked Canelo the first time around. I thought he would have too much.
No, I was quite confident in Golovkin first time. I think this time, now I'm not so sure. Whereas first time I was fairly confident picking Golovkin. And that's the thing.
I think everybody's kind of saying Golovkin's getting old, and I would have half said that, but now I'm not so sure. I don't think Golovkin's would have aged that much. I think
from that first fight, Canelo can take confidence.
That's what I was going to say, and I think Canelo knows what he needs to do to win that fight because I felt his punch output
His stamina was awful in that fight.
And his punch output really dropped. So I think if he maintains that, he can win the fight. What's your thoughts, D?
Well, you know what? For the first fight, I did pick Triple G to do the business, but you know what? This time, I think Canelo outboxes him and goes home. Goes home a winner. To be honest, I can only see one winner. All the hype surrounding Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs didn't knock him out. Canelo didn't knock him out. It's like when he's coming up against better fighters, what's happening? No knockout, is there?
Yeah.
I think Canelo beats him.
Yeah. You think it's a points or knockout? All right, D, you've gone there, so we're going to move on quickly because we've got a caller waiting. It's going to go out quickly to 860, and I think, Chamberlain, I see you on the line, so just bear with us, but 860. Hello?
Hello,
lad. Who's speaking? Is that Paul?
Paul.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Doing,
you
Paul?
sound a bit low, mate. You want to you want to scream at the top of your voice?
Is that a bit better?
Yeah, that's a bit better. Not a lot better, but it's a bit better.
Cool. Yeah. How are you doing, you alright?
Yeah, not bad. What's on your mind, mate?
Well, this Canelo Golovkin drama again. I think it's gonna lead up to a great fight. But I think you've got Triple G, who's going to be a bit older. I think Canelo is going to make the necessary adjustments. You see Triple G fight the same all the time, but Canelo adjusts more, I think. And you know my views from the first fight. I thought he just to say.
Oh, let's not go there.
I think the same's going to happen.
Let him finish. Don't hijack the call.
You can. I don't think it's going to end in a knockout for either fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to get another 12 rounds out of it. But I think it's going to go all about to Canelo this time.
Ah, nice. And Paul, we got your main man Chamberlain on the line, so we're going to go to him soon. But you're in London on Saturday, right, for the fight?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And what's your prediction? How do you see the fight playing out?
it's only going one way. It's going Isaac's way. Isaac's too clever, too smart, and I think Okolie's a bit too raw for this. Okolie hasn't had a gut check. You've had Isaac's been in there. He dislocated his shoulder. He still fights for 7 rounds with a dislocated shoulder and wins the fight against an experienced bloke in Camacho. What's Okolie done whilst he's been professional? Fought Chamberlain's leftovers. Fight the guy in his last fight. It was second to last fight. It was 1-1. Are you kidding me? He's supposed to be an Olympian. Nah, Chamberlain all the way. And when he comes online, tell him I want some commission off their main.
I will do. I will do. If we're gonna go to him now, I would definitely like to patch you through, Paul. But it might be a bit shaky with the reception because he's not in the studio. But listen, Paul, thank you very much for the call. Stay on the line.
Cheers, Paul.
And we're gonna go straight to Isaac now. So, Isaac, I see you there. I won't repeat your numbers. Hello, Mr. Chamberlain.
Yo.
What's going on? How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I just finished a little light session today. Got my hair cut. I got that 5-week trim, baby. I'm ready, baby.
You ready? Good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. I mean, listen, thank you for joining us. We know it's a big week for you. Headlining down at the O2, South London, boy. It must be like stuff that dreams are made of, really. And obviously our listeners are ready for this fight. I guess one thing we just want to kick off, because, you know, there is a lot of tension in this fight, and it's real from what we can see. How did it start? You know, just let the listeners know, how did it start? How did this tension come about?
We just started waffling off on social media before he turned professional, talking rubbish. Like, talking rubbish, on social media. And obviously, I was one of the ones to respond. You know what I mean? And he's trying to take it as if I'm getting at him, and I'm jealous of his achievements as an Olympian, just because he went there just to show face, which I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, so he's trying to make it as if I'm bullying him. Where, you know what? When he was younger, he used to say he used to get bullied and all of that, and then now he's boxing and. Because obviously he has a big frame, he's trying to act as the bully. So he's trying to be the thing that he hated the most when he was younger, which is quite sad to see, really. But you know, I'm just ready to fight right now. The talking done, man.
The talking's done now. Good to hear.
Yeah, hi Isaac, it's Tommy. Thanks for giving us some of your time. So obviously you're in. Cheers. Obviously you're in fight week now. As it's the biggest fight of your career, so you know, not necessarily because of Okolie, but are there any nerves there, just it being such a big occasion, you know, being in South London, fighting at the O2, like Kojo said?
Yeah, of course, because if I didn't have nerves, then, you know, that means I wouldn't really care about the occasion. I wouldn't really care about the fight because I want to win so bad. Of course, there's definitely going to be nerves because, you know, most fighters hardly ever get to headline at the O2, and for me to do that is a massive blessing. You know, it's funny though because, you know, they're trying to draw me away. They're trying to make me fight Henshaw when he was undefeated, when I had 4 fights. Then I fought Wadi when I had 5 fights. You know, in 2 weeks' notice, they tried to throw me away. Like, you know, they tried to throw me away, but I'm still here. You know, I'm still here. I'm not moving. You know what I mean? So they're thinking, Raj, you know what? We might have someone on our hands here. You know, this guy is special. And they see the amount of tickets that I've done for the show as well. Now I've done nearly 1,000. You know, Okolie even done near that. You know what I mean? So obviously, it just shows, you know, that the potential that I have. And obviously, when I win this fight, I knock this guy out. Yeah, it's just gonna show that, you know, you don't have to be an Olympian to achieve great things. Look at Nigel Benny. He didn't even win a Southern Eastern Dig as an amateur. But look at the stuff he achieved as a professional. You know, it's all different. You know, it's all different. You stop counting and basing it on that Olympic style, that Olympic. Do you know what I mean? Stop thinking the Olympics is going to guarantee you success when it's really not.
You say that you felt like they tried to throw you away at first. Do you feel like, obviously with Okolie being managed by Joshua, do you still feel like in a way you're still the away fighter going into it?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like they're a way fighter, but I think the reason why they made this fight earlier is simply because of after one round, what has he really got, and that all of that was exposed. The hype was exposed when he fought Manduo, and they were like, listen, let's just cash out and make a big show with Lawrence and Isaac because everyone got in for that fight instead of waiting and hope and obviously more likely Lawrence is the one to get banged out before me. You know, so obviously potential hype of that fight happening would be down the drain because obviously it wouldn't be as big if Matty Askin or Steve Simmons or Luke Watkins knocks him out. But it's obviously me. They got their money back because of the amount of ticket sales, the amount of hype that this fight got.
So Isaac, it's Kojo here, mate. So listen, we've all seen, and it's been on our Facebook and our Instagram page, the great banter with the advert you posted in Okolie's local paper. For me, I think it was a breath of fresh air in terms of, you know, there's an animosity in the fight. It is a big fight for us British fight fans. But you've gone that one step further and been a bit clever with how you market it. You know, I think everybody that's seen that has received it well, and serious boxing fans have been like, oh yeah, I want to watch this fight now. Where did the idea come from? You know, how long has this been in the making, and can we expect anything else?
It was just something I thought up with my friend Too Slick Chris.
Yeah,
you know,
Mr. Congo.
Mr. Congo.
Yes.
Funny guy. We were just talking. Obviously, when we're in camp, we're bored, innit? Sometimes, so a lot of time passes by.
Nice.
Obviously. Yeah, so obviously we was looking to, let's see, obviously, I don't know, man, we were just bored, man. So we were just thinking of stuff. And obviously we were looking to build the fight.
No, and I think it's definitely worked. And Paul, one of our listeners who was on before, is saying he wants some commission on the memes that he sent you. So I think he sent a couple of memes to you or some members of your team. So
yeah, he did. You know,
he's looking for
a legend. Paul, man. He's a legend.
He's a legend, exactly. Big up, Paul. So
yeah, big up.
So yeah, no, that's great. I mean, but obviously now focus on the fight. You know, it's been sort of documented that you went out to Ukraine. You were sparring with Usyk and others in preparation for the fight. I mean, how did that go? And was there anything specific you were working on tactically for this fight?
Yeah, bro. Listen, I'm not gonna tell you what we've been working on. You can see that on February, bro. On February the 3rd. But like, it was like serious work. Like Usyk is like the stuff they taught me. The stuff even Lomachenko was there, came and taught me some stuff. You know, gave me bare tips and stuff. You know, Usyk as well. Like their trainer, I was just learning so much. In every spar that I was sparring with them, I was getting better. It was just amazing. You know, an amazing experience. And because I'm not scared to go out there, because obviously the Olympic Institute of Ukraine is like hell on earth. It was just like, mate, hard work. You know, we woke up 5 a.m. It was snowing. We had to run. And sometimes it was mostly raining and just damp weather. It was just uncomfortable. But obviously, you have to strive in uncomfortable situations so you can get the best out of what you have. You know what I mean? To really bring out the best in you. So obviously, I was willing to go that extra bit. I'm not just gonna go. Stay in London and spar with the people I normally spar with all the time for a big fight. You have to go that extra mile. You have to go that extra distance because you know, mentally in your head, listen, I did everything I can. I had fizzy drinks or sugars or chocolates or stuff like that. I had that for 10 weeks. Damn. Imagine 10 weeks of start having withdrawal symptoms. Of having nice food. But I always thought I had that rock solid mentality and discipline to say, do you know what? I can have all of this after February the 3rd. Suffer now, live the rest of your life a champion.
Definitely. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about how Okolie, you know, he had nothing left after a round or two. Do you think, is it key to take him into the later rounds? Because obviously he is dangerous early on. So do you think that's key to take the fight long?
He's dangerous early on, so am I. Every boxer is dangerous early on because every boxer is still very sharp. You know what I mean? So, we'll have to see how he comes out. You know, we'll definitely have to see how it comes out. I'm just going to have my boxing brain. I'm going to do what I do all the time, which is be extremely smart. You know, I've dealt, like, listen, you know, yeah, Okolie is a good fighter, but I've seen a lot of Okolies, you know. Like, I spar with a guy that's twice as good as Okolie, Richard Riakpo, you know, twice as good as him. You know what I mean? Hits as hard, he's even harder than him, you know. So I've seen lots of guys with Okolie's style. Okolie has seen no one really with my style. No way. To get the Olympic experience. After 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, after 8, you know, after 7, 8 rounds, when you start to get the timing of them, you start to get the rhythm, there's wear and tear of the fight, you know, the fight starts to change. You don't know about none of that. I know about all of that. Do you know what I mean? I know about all of that. So we're just going to see. It's going to be a humbling experience for him.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good note to sort of talk about. You know, you're speaking about your mindset and the mentality, and you know, it's been well documented, the Wally Camacho fight, what you've gone through. And I have to say, the Polish guy you fought at York Hall under the Next Gen, I think, although that was a really impressive fight, because that guy was a huge monster in comparison to you size-wise. Obviously, you knocked him out, but actually it was a good performance as well. So I think for me, I have to say, Isaac, you know, you've been in our studio, you're a guest to the show. Okolie's also been a guest to the show. For me, I'm not going to lie, I see this as a 50-50 fight because I think somebody, unfortunately, is going to get knocked out. But I do see this as a 50-50 fight, and I think where your strengths are is where his weaknesses is where we don't know anything about him. So I think your strengths, we know you've got heart, we know that you're a fighter as well, and I think technically you're a good fighter. I don't think you're getting that credit. Whereas Okolie's coming in with the bandwagon of the, you know, the Joshua promotion, the Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom. So I think for me, it's going to be a very interesting fight. I hope emotion doesn't play a big part of this, and you know, both of you are clearly focused on.
It will play a part to him. I know that 100%. It will definitely play a part to him.
Yeah.
Me, you know, this is just business.
Yeah, it's what I mean.
This is business.
Yeah.
I've been through this before. Like, it's not the guy on, like, I haven't main evented that you're cool with Buddy before. Like, I haven't done it, but I've done it. I've done all of that before, and I know that how it feels. I know. Listen, at the end of the day, the crowd can't fight for you.
That's it.
And these boys, penny boys, they can't fight for you.
and obviously, I think a good thing from a you know, a trinket perspective. I mean, it is a good belt. It's for the vacant WBA Continental Cruiserweight title. So, I mean, you win this fight, it really does open up a lot of potential for 2018. Have there been any discussions about what this could lead to, or is there a plan? Obviously, first things first is Okolie, but is there any type of discussions of what next?
What I'm thinking about, to be honest. I ain't really been discussing what's next. I've just been focused on the task in hand, you know, which is Operation Okolie.
Yeah.
You know, so I've just been focused on that, to be honest.
And you say like how you've had the experience, you've gone through it with Wally Camacho. Would you say, obviously he had a lot of experience as an amateur, do you feel like you're entering the ring as the more experienced fighter because of it being purely in the pros, or do you think that you're actually on a level playing field with his international experience?
No, but the thing is, after amateurs, there's only 3 rounds. You know, there's no time in amateur boxing where you think, oh my days, how many rounds left, or how many rounds to go, or this is changing, or that is changing, or it's really tight. There's none of that in amateur boxing. You know what I mean? So, like, he hasn't been through any of that stuff yet, and he hasn't had the gut check. It's quite different. You know, when a rugged, rough professional is coming at you, instead of, you know, amateur boxing, the point scoring style and all of that. It's pretty different, you know.
No, okay, no, that's good. And so obviously this weekend we're seeing the World Boxing Super Series, your division as well. Couple of titles on the line. Were you impressed with Usyk on the weekend? Did you watch that fight?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was very impressed with Usyk because Brutus is a world-class operator, and people are trying to say, yeah, Usyk will look at him, but you guys underestimate Maurice Brutus, which is a top quality operator.
Yeah,
like, you're not WBC world champion for no reason.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're not that for no reason. You're
That's
not a world champion for no reason. He's a very, very good boxer.
Yeah,
I mean, he actually showed it in that night as well.
Oh no, he really did.
He's great as well, you know, and he can just show the hard work he puts into the gym. It all comes out on fight night.
So I mean, from our perspective, yeah, we've had people say, you know, Usyk look exposed, but I agree with you. I think people underestimated how good Breedis could be, and the fact that he really fought for this fight. I think eventually Usyk obviously got his way, but that was in the final rounds for me. It was a very close fight and very entertaining. So if you guys can go half of that way, I think us British fans are in for a treat. And I have to say, Chamberlain, in terms of this fight, you know, there are some similarities between, you know, everyone's talking about the Herbie Hyde and the old guy, I forget his name, Bernie something or Ben something. But DeGale and Groves, I feel like this is the next. I feel like this is the second DeGale and Groves in terms of you guys have a fight early. You go away on your respective careers, you know, because you are both good prospects, and definitely are going to have a good career in boxing. And then potentially we look to see you guys come back and fight again in the future. So yeah, for me, I'm really looking forward to this fight on Saturday. We're going to be in the house. We should be at most of the media workout events. So we'll BXR tomorrow. Obviously, the press conference on Thursday, weighing at the O2 on Friday. So I mean, for me, I just want to say, Isaac, thank you very much for your time. Good luck and all the rest of training and the rest of the preparation, and obviously may both of you guys come out healthy at the other side, and may the best man win.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. Best of luck.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out as well. I want to give a shout out as well to Combo Nation.
Yep.
My agent David Johnson, Ted Boxing Academy, Equilibrium, my physio Michael, Ticket Trolley. I don't know how many other people. My other sponsors, everyone that's helping the team. You know, that's helping me. And my team, I just want to give a special shout out to them.
Definitely, no, do that, man. I mean, it's teamwork makes the dream work. And to be honest, I have to say that's impressive of you, because actually since you last come on the show, your sponsorship, your partnerships has grown, and I like that because I like to see boxers focusing on a business and making sure their team's right and it's tight. So well done on that, and yeah, happy to shout out your boxers. What about your Instagram? I'm sure everyone knows the Instagram, Twitter. Do you want to just quickly shout that out?
Chamberlain _ is my Instagram, and my Twitter is @Chamberlain_.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And big up Combination for lining up this interview.
Big up
as well.
Paul on the memes.
Yeah, definitely big up Paul on the memes. All right, listen, Isaac, all the
Cheers,
best, man.
man.
Good luck Saturday. Best of luck. Cheers.
All right, bro.
Cheers, thank you. Just take care. Bye. Right, well, that was a good interview. We're going to go back out to the lines, 348, see who's on the hello?
How you doing, lads? You alright?
Yes, not bad. It's Tom.
How
L.
you doing?
Yeah, Tom.
How you doing, sir? We're both well. How are you, mate? Listen, for all of those that don't know, Tom's been doing some cracking articles that are on the website, rapsontv.com. Make sure you go and check them out. He's doing some really good work. Tom, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just have to say about the weekend with Usyk and Breidis. What a fight! It was a great fight. To be honest, I think a lot of people underestimated Breidis going into the fight, and as Chamberlain alluded to, I mean, you can't be WBC champion for nothing. I feel it sort of going into the last few rounds, it sort of swung in the balance whether Usyk had done enough to win the fight, but I think it was a fair decision that he narrowly edged it by a few rounds. So yeah, but it was a great account from Breidis, and I think after the tournament's concluded, why not see the rematch between them two? So.
No, definitely a great point. I think we should see the rematch because it was a cracking fight. Or even maybe see him fight the loser of the semi-final. But yeah, definitely. What else is on your mind, Tom? I mean, there was one thing I got to ask you. Cinco de Mayo. Canelo versus Golovkin.
It's mayo.
Muy bueno.
I think it's mayo. It's not. Yeah. It's not the Heinz sauce.
It's mayo, mate. Listen, mate. Sorry, mate. Exactly. We're hijacking your call with some Hellmans, mate.
Yeah. So I'm same as you really. I had Canelo favorite. I was favouring Canelo the last time out, but I think I've changed my mind now. I think GGG wins the fight this time round. I mean, I think they both sort of sussed each other out in terms of boxing skills wise, and so I think last time out, even though Golovkin didn't land that concussive punch or array of punches that he's been so, used to doing with other opponents. I think this time around there's no reason as to why, Golovkin can't outbox Canelo and, win on points. But I don't think you should leave it to the decision because, being out in
I think Golovkin definitely can't.
Yeah, Golovkin can't.
No, so I think he's going to have to knock
second
him out
time.
to win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it shows how great a fight is, doesn't it? Because we've already seen it once, and everyone we've spoken to about it has changed their minds, and still no one's agreeing.
Yeah,
and we've already seen it, so it shows what an amazing fight is. I think this is the sort of fight that people are going to look back on in 10 years' time and be like, "God, remember Canelo and Golovkin? Those were two great middleweights." Like,
definitely. And I want to come back to that on one point, but I would say what I find really interesting since the news was announced and we put it on our Instagram and Facebook pages. It's that the people that went for Golovkin last time around are now saying Canelo will win. And I feel like even the people that picked Canelo last time, they're kind of like, yeah, Golovkin could win. Like Tom said it, I've just said it. And I, if you ask me why do I think that, I think, do you know what? I really thought Canelo would make the fight in September, number one, and that would give it a full year, which he would have aged a lot. I don't know if Golovkin's aged that much. The only thing which is I see in Golovkin's favour is that if he can have a bit more punch variety, if you remember, he didn't work the body of Canelo really.
He started slow as well.
He started slow, and if he can try to cut off the ring, I still think he's got a chance. I think the other thing in his favour is that I think he now knows he has to go for a knockout. I feel like in the last fight he was trying to go to maybe thinking he could outpunch him, go toe to toe, but I think he has to go for the knockout. So, I mean, closer to the fight, we've still got a few months. I'll make a better pick, but yeah. Sorry, Tom?
Do you feel that if a question for both of you, do you think if Golovkin forces the pressure on Canelo to, get the knockout, do you think it will leave him more susceptible to getting caught and more vulnerable?
Yes, because he got caught. He got caught badly. There's that one shot that you keep seeing replay. He got caught with some heavy shots. He got caught with a shot that probably would have put 9 out of 10 other fighters out. And I think Golovkin's very wary of Canelo's power. Like, all the talks about Golovkin's power. Canelo is a big puncher.
He is a big puncher, but I do think, unfortunately, listen, they're both big punches.
He's got faster hands on the inside as well.
I think also from Golovkin's power, I think Golovkin would have taken confidence. Yes, he got hit because his defense isn't the greatest, but I think it's fair to say he kind not ate them like like the Jacobs or the other guy that he fought Lemieux when he said, hit me. It wasn't like that, but there was a little bit of.
Don't forget the big man Kell Brook as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Had him teetering on wobbly legs, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what they say. But I think there was an element of Golovkin knowing that he probably wasn't going to get stopped in that specific fight. I don't know if he was that much. I don't think he was afraid of the power. I don't know. That's how I
think
feel.
It is a risk, but he's got to take that risk because the way that he beats Canelo is by grinding Canelo down and forcing the stamina issue. So he's got to take that risk to get the knockout.
Exactly, and that's what I think. If he makes Canelo increase his stamina or in terms of his range early in the rounds, how does that help Canelo later on in the rounds? It may not. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I think out of the two of them, he knows he can't leave it to the judges. Canelo said it, but I think Canelo was a bit cheeky saying it when you look at his points and
I think that
when you look at the final score,
I can't see this could be Golovkin's last fight. You got to take that into account. I don't think that. I
hope not. I hope that happens.
But I think there's no. You could see a blatant robbery in this fight. They almost, in a way, they almost did it in the first fight with that ridiculous scorecard. I don't think you can't expect, you can't rely on anything in this fight. I don't think. I think if you're in Golovkin's position.
And that's the thing about this fight. I think if the scorecard was more realistic, a bit closer, then I think you could make an argument at least for, why, even if you
There's no way you could argue that was a 118, 110
No way, that's what I mean.
So it's like, he can't go in there trusting the right thing to happen. He's got to force the issue.
So no, that's great. Tom, just because I'm sure you did the interview for us one time. O'Hara Davis has joined Frank Warren. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it was, I think everyone saw it coming, to be honest. Obviously parting ways with Matchroom and announcing his management team with MTK. I think they seem to have come to a good agreement, and that he's been given a good deal. And I think it's definitely a bonus for him. It's given him the opportunity to have a fresh start. He's in a stable where there's fights with the likes of Tyrone Nurse, Jack Catterall. They're all under the sort of same banner, so it's definitely more realistic. Tyron McKenna obviously being with MTK as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, those fights are more achievable now, I think.
Yeah,
And there's
you
not
hope
gonna,
so.
there's not going to be a problem with cross broadcasters and all that nonsense between the two. So.
No, perfect. Thank you very much, Tom. Listen, we're going to move on to another caller. I appreciate your time, mate, and keep up with the good work. Thank you for calling in.
Cheers, man.
No worries. See you in the weekend,
Cheers,
guys.
mate. Cheers. See you. Bye-bye. Bye. 998, I think that's Mr. Michael Angelo Serra.
Hey,
What's
Michael,
up?
Michael
How you doing,
Angelo
sir? You
Serra.
well?
Hey, yeah, good. Thanks. Tired of a long day at work. I'm okay. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
we're
we're
here
good.
discussing the best things in boxing.
Well, this fight Saturday. I mean, I've seen Okolie fight on the Errol Spence versus Kell Brook show, and he's a big puncher. He's definitely a big puncher. I've never seen Usyk Chamberlain fight, but the thing is, one guy he did fight and he beat is a guy called obviously Wadi Camacho, and obviously that on paper is a great result.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very much so. I mean, he's a name Camacho. I mean, okay, he is a bit inconsistent at times, but in his own way, he's a big puncher. So he's obviously moving up the levels, by beating guys like that, But this one is definitely looks, it's obviously the most explosive encounter since, domestically speaking, at cruiser since Hay versus Enzo Macronelli, and how fitting that it's almost. It's a month shy of 10 years since that fight actually happened at the very same arena that they're battling it out in on Saturday night, the O2. So, is that fight, is that actually the main event?
Yeah, that's
it's the main event. Yeah. 10 rounds.
10 rounds.
Okay, I'll tell you why, because I don't buy boxing news anymore. They've just disgraced themselves. I don't know if you know what they've done.
No, what have they done?
With an article regarding Errol Graham. This is opening up a bit of a can of worms, but they did a 3-page article on Errol Graham and the way he was portrayed, the great Errol Graham. Let's face it,
and he's going through some hard times at the moment as well.
He is indeed, yeah. He's battling depression. I don't know to the extent of it, but they made some disgusting reportage on Errol's condition. The way they sort of basically was talking about and writing about him was they projected him as some sort of a relic, a spitting image puppet. I mean, that's no way to talk about anybody, especially a fighter. More so any human being. I think the editor's got a lot to answer to that. I mean, this guy. I mean, where do they get these fighters from?
I don't know. We need to look into that.
Disgusting. They're going into his physical characteristics. His body looks much bigger. They're talking about the guy like he's a relic. It's just disgusting. So as I say, when I have to ask you guys stuff, that's why, because I don't buy the trade magazine anymore.
No, I totally understand, mate. So listen, Mike, cool.
Coming back.
Yeah, coming back
to
World Boxing.
Who wins this
World
weekend?
Boxing Super Series.
Who wins between Okolie and Chamberlain this weekend?
Well, I've only seen Okolie, but he's very ragged from what I saw of him when he boxed on the Kell Brook Spence show. Very, very ragged. I think he boxed an import, stopped him in a round or 2 rounds. He's exciting. He's a big puncher, but the thing is, you can name thousands of big punchers in boxing history, but you can only name a handful of big punchers who have got punch resistance in boxing history. Trust me, and only a handful can come to mind. But can he take a big shot? That's the thing. Until he gets it on the rear, that's Jin. We'll see. Yeah. But I think the form book, if I had to put my hand on my heart, I've got to go for Chamberlain. I think Chamberlain will win in an impressive style. But again, it's not. It's a bit unfair of me to say that because I've never seen Chamberlain fight, and but I'm just going on past form by beating someone like Wadi Camacho. It
no
speaks
problem,
about
Mike.
volumes.
So listen, Mike, we're gonna have
Camacho,
last 30 seconds, mate. We're gonna close out for the show.
Yeah, Camacho boxed a friend of mine, Daniel Woodgate from Ramsgate, and he stopped him, and that's no mean feat. I mean, he's a very tough guy, my friend Daniel Woodgate. But
we'll look out for him.
As I say, he's definitely one to look out for, and I think Chamberlain is. I mean, Danny's retired now, but another good guy coming up is Jack 13 Morris. He was Southern Area light heavyweight. He's gone up the cruiserweight, I believe, again, and he's on the comeback trail. So
no problem, Mike.
Very good fight.
So listen, Mike, thank you very much for your call, all the support, and good luck on Thursday.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Cheers,
Take
no
care.
problem.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. So before we go, we're going to do a bit of a speed drive-by, flashing through the news. So what we didn't talk about was the actual card on Saturday, which features Ted Geesman taking on Carson Jones, Reece Bellotti taking on Ben Jones, and Joshua Buatsi facing on a guy called Jordan Joseph. Good fight. We're also going to see the likes of Felix Cash on that night. So listen, we spoke about Okolie, we spoke to Chamberlain. The fight's happening this Saturday. Tom, who you going with?
Well, I feel a bit guilty now that we've just spoken to Isaac. And
Welcome to the world of journalism.
He's a lovely guy, but I think that if I was getting a free bet on this one, I'd be going with Okolie.
Yeah, okay. So I'll be honest. I'm sitting on the fence purely because I just don't know who to pick.
Oh, you bastard! You just dogged me in it, and then you're sitting on the fence. You're sitting on the fence.
Well, I didn't dog you in it. Okay, so I'll be honest. Where it is with me, though, honestly, is purely because I think Okolie is probably not as poor as I initially thought he was. Like what Michael said there about him looking very like Bambi on ice kind of fight. Yeah. That's how I kind of used to see him. Then I looked at his fights and I thought, well, okay, he does have a big right hand, but Michael raised a good point. We haven't seen his punch resistance.
Yeah.
With Okolie, with Chamberlain, obviously he wasn't that he's not glorified as an Olympic amateur, so his amateur career is probably not as well recognized. I think he's a good fighter, strong fighter, and I think he's shown good heart. But is that enough? And then I think you said something which made me think, I have to be honest, is would Hearn put him in there now if they didn't think?
That's my key thinking behind it.
And that's why I'm thinking, well, maybe. But then has Okolie pushed for the fight? So Hearn's been like, well, actually, I don't think you can win, but you're pushing for it. You're confident.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. But I don't know. So yeah, I have to be honest, I can't call it. If I had to put money down, I think I'm gonna go with Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Just
I haven't spoken to him. I'd quite like to see him do it now.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, we spoke to Okolie and unfortunately both of them can't win. I just think, for me, there's definitely more questions to be asked of Okolie if this fight goes to round 6.
It's going to be a great fight either way.
That's what I think as well. It's definitely going to be a big fight.
I don't think there's much danger of this one being KG.
I think this is going to be a KO.
It's going to be bloodthirsty.
So in other news, today we saw, let me see if I can play this. We saw
We'll buy the pay-per-view. We'll support the fighter.
So this is Phil LaGreco.
Let's talk about your losses.
That's talking to Amir Khan.
I have fought nothing but world champion. I got beaten by people. You have to listen. I'm talking. Please listen.
But you got to listen to this.
Just listen to what I'm about to say. After the Canelo loss, you went on a losing streak. Family, wife. Then wait a minute. Oh, guys.
Exactly.
It's not a cricket match. Please.
Ain't a cricket match.
You go out and you tweet to the heavyweight champion of the world. What is wrong with you, mate? What is wrong? You go out and you tweet to the heavyweight champion of the world that he can have your leftovers? What?
And at that point, Amir Khan threw water in his face. Listen, for me, I think it's two things. Definitely, I think this is a bit staged. I think you got Khan coming out of Celeb Jungle. You got LaGreco, who's a big mouth American type of fighter. There was no real harm to be done. He threw water on him. What does that do? It makes people talk about the fight because now...
You know what it does? It makes people forget about Carl Frampton and Nito Zanelli. That's what it does.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. And in fairness to them, the undercard isn't poor. You know, if you look at some of the fights, you saw the two guys, Mashadon and Tommy Cole, turn up as
fight, yeah.
Batman
I like Tommy Cole.
Exactly, Batman and Superman. You've got Fowler who's fighting on the undercard as well. So it doesn't turn into a bad boxing night, especially when you look at the ticket prices.
Yeah.
But you're 100%
You've got to look at the shape that Phil LaGreco was in, though, you know. He did come out with a brilliant line, you know. He wasn't a talker in the way that makes me want to come back and listen again.
Yeah.
But he did come out with one great line, which was, "I've got a double chin, but he's got no chin." But he's got no chin.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. That was a good. That was a bit of wit.
And again, even
that.
to Amir Khan, he came back with a good quiz because Phil LaGreco said, you know, thanks for you guys giving me 3 months training. Amir Khan said, yeah, we've seen the sight of you, so we know you need it. So I thought, so it's good banter. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think Eddie Hearn has piped this up and said, listen, you know, you had Dennis Wise there, you had the other guy from Liverpool that was in the jungle, and somebody else that was in the jungle. So you've got these celebrities, so to speak, now.
Yeah, it was straight away. It's on BBC Sport, Khan chucks water in face of opponent.
Exactly. So I think
exactly what needs to be done.
That's exactly what they wanted. So for me, I think it was a good thing. Also, last weekend, we saw Linares beat Jester to a points decision. For me, I felt Linares looked all right, but I think we need to see him in some real challenges.
Well, they're talking about him against Lomachenko, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think he loses those.
Definitely loses.
I think why even take that fight? Why not go?
Because it's probably bigger money than fighting Mikey Garcia, which I think he also loses. I'm going to be honest. I think that Linares is an aging fighter now. I think
agree with
you've got to look at those two fights with Crawler. Anthony Crawler is not a world-beating fighter, and that wasn't total. That first fight,
second one was...
Crawler had spells in that first fight where he was.
But not enough.
It's not like he was dominating Linares in any way at all, but he was in the fight. It was potentially, you could have seen how Crawler could come back.
I was there for
into
both
the fight.
of them, and I didn't feel so. The first one, definitely a bit more. I felt he had more fight in him.
Yeah.
The second one was just like clear domination.
But the first one, it was a bit, it wasn't 100% assured. It wasn't like, he's gone out there and dominated him throughout.
I'll be honest, I was impressed, and I was thinking.
You think?
And to be honest, after that, I was a little bit on the Linares train because I was thinking.
He's a beautiful fighter to watch.
He's a really good fighter, skillful. But actually, since then, I'm saying, what are you doing to challenge yourself? There's guys with belts. For me, he really the smart thing, and I agree with you. Probably on a money perspective, Lomachenko is the bigger fight.
And it is for the money for him now, isn't he? He is a world champion. He's had a lot of fights. I think
Easter Jr. is there for the taking. Easter Jr. looked poor against Fortuna. Fortuna is a good fight, but he looked poor, so I think he's there for the taking.
He's rugged though, Easter Jr. It's a tough fight, isn't it?
It's a tough, but I think Linares could beat him. I really
because Linares, he's got, he's been beaten before, hasn't he? He's been knocked out, hasn't he? So
he's an old fighter.
He's vulnerable.
He's vulnerable. So for me,
at least Lomachenko probably doesn't have the power to knock him out.
Thing is, I think Lomachenko stops him because the way he hits, for me, Linares cuts easily, and I think you saw that if you've seen the Jester fight. One thing that was interesting, when he was hitting Jester was kind of taking it, but he was definitely outworking him. But when he would just throw one shot back, Linares seemed a bit wary. He was like, I don't want to get hurt, and I think he cuts easy. I think that's going to be a thing for him against Lomachenko. So listen. Guys, we're going to wrap it up. It's been great. We're back. Looking forward to this weekend. Isaac Chamberlain versus Okolie. Don't forget, you know what to do. Raps on TV. Everywhere. We're talking Instagram, social media, Facebook, all of that. And the intro's not working, so I'm looking at the engineer like, yo, it's still not working. I don't know why it's not working.
Always go out on a high.
So, there we go.
Thanks very much, guys.
There we go. That's why we've got to have an engineer in the studio. So listen, Raps on TV, Facebook, social media, YouTube, all of that. Guys, keep subscribing. Thank you for your support. Take it easy.
Cheers.